Hello everyone, Mike Stokes with Wildlife University, and today I'd like to make a video about, it's really about two things. It's about living and working deeply, and the insulation that's required in order to achieve that. So increasingly, we live in an era where technology, the internet and Twitter and Facebook and all of the social media and all of the distractions are becoming obviously greater. So to live deeply and to work deeply, one needs to insulate yourself from that. And the more your life and your business requires that you interact with those distractions via email or instant message or instant media, the more you have to insulate yourself from those distractions. I often feel embarrassed about making these sauna videos because they're visually boring and I'm not all, made up with a great, visually stunning environment. And today I feel at peace with that because what I'm presenting is not about the visual distraction, but about the depth of the communication that I'm trying to convey. For me, it started to happen about 15 years ago, 10 or 15 years ago, where I saw that trying to compete and update myself with all of modern media and technology was pulling me in 100 different directions. And I already tend to be someone who's, runs for the shiny key. I'm probably could be diagnosed with ADD. I've never had a diagnosis. I don't know. But I know that is my propensity to just sort of jump from one thing to another. And I know that I'm not alone. I know that that's the norm, especially in our culture today. So I began to break that mold with taking Vipassana meditation retreats, where you're forced to sit in a room meditate for 10 hours a day for 10 days in a row, not talk, not use any media, not write, not do anything. And that began to break the stranglehold that the dominant culture and its love of all forms of technology had on me. We've entered an era, and we've been continuing. I think this is probably a perennial question that has been vexing humanity since the beginning. We tend not to question technology. We tend not to look at it as a potentially positive and negative thing. So all of the interconnectedness that we have right now is incredibly beneficial on one level. And it's also incredibly detrimental on another. So forgetting all the social stuff aside and how we're disconnected and how people I'll say briefly about it, people in different camps are tending to isolate themselves more in their own camp and separate from one another, causing political divides and even violence. Less understanding, less common ground, because we can separate ourselves apart with our technology. Whereas, in a simple era, at least in the United States, when there was 3 main networks where you could get your news from, everybody had some sort of common ground, some sort of mutual interpretation that they were sort of filtering their political ideals through. Now we don't have any of that. And obviously that's wrought with problems too. And I'm not arguing that we go back to a time when there's less barriers to entry for everyone into connectivity. But what I am arguing for is that on an individual level, that if you want to be satisfied and fulfilled and produce really meaningful work and content and have a meaningful life, that you isolate yourself from the world. And not completely isolate yourself, but you want to have like a cell wall, like a semi-permeable skin that only lets in nutrients and keeps out toxins, like your skin. Your skin doesn't let in everything. It can accidentally let in toxins because it's not smart enough to keep those toxins out, especially since those toxins are pretty new to our, evolution. 3 billion years, I don't know if that's exactly right, but 3 billion years of evolution that created our immune system. But I digress. So what is incredibly important is that you learn how to intelligently create semi-permeable barriers in your life. So for example, I've fallen off the bandwagon for a while, but I was limiting my email checking to a few times a week. And I'm going to get back on top of that because I'm really aware of the benefit of that. There's lots of studies. One of the reasons that I got inspired about this topic was, well, it started with my own exploration, then continued with Tim Ferris's work, and then now I'm currently reading, I don't have the author's name in front of me, but the book's title is Deep Work. And he's confirming all the things that I've been experimenting with over these last few years. So what I want to say to you is that it's harder to do deep work, at least in the beginning. Joseph Campbell articulated it in a way where he said you had to have a time or a place that you went to and you blocked out the world. Also in the book Daily Practices, or I think it's Daily Rituals, again, I don't know the author's name, I don't have it in front of me, he outlined all of the practices that some of the great minds throughout history had. And he wasn't willing to draw any conclusions on that, but I'm willing to draw some conclusions. Almost every single one of them isolated themselves from the world for a period of time, either on a daily or a weekly or a monthly basis. There was always a time of extreme isolation. So in order to do your deepest, best, most profound work, you have to turn everything off. And that may mean, right now, I only have times and I have this sauna. This is the place I go to. So hence, that's why I'm a little less embarrassed today to just make videos while I'm in the sauna, sweating, not very presentable. But in the future now, I am committed, and we'll see how long it takes me, but I'm committed to create a creative workspace that is totally and wholly mine. It will be an expression of my deepest level of creativity. And that's beyond my family, that's beyond my wife, that's beyond my child, that's beyond all my relationship. That's a spiritual place that only I know how to tap into. Other people can visit it and enjoy what it feels like to be there, but I'm the only one who gets fed and produces at that deep level in that space. Now, if you're lucky, some people do have partnerships where those spaces are really conducive and you create art and poetry and deep works of knowledge and teaching communally. And I hope, knock on wood, I hope to have that. But for now, I'm going to create a space that wholly insulates me so I can express that deepest part of myself. It's funny, too, because on one level, I don't really care if anybody watches these videos, because I'm expressing a deep part of myself that I have to express. And if I don't express it, I get depressed. And I think that's nature's way of telling me that this is something I'm supposed to be doing in the world. So similarly, you have something like that too. You may already be on top of that. You may already be creating in an insulated space. But this video is really for those of you who need more of that, who can see or feel that it's not giving you the results that you thought it was going to give you being connected all the time. So the best way, I believe, to approach this connectivity is in a focused way, in an intentional way. So instead of just pulling up, things that are sort of randomly in front of you, it's important to have your vision for yourself in front of you. So right now I have several visions. One vision is to create my tiny home business, to transition out of remodeling income as my primary income, more into artistic depth and sustainable work that's important for enhancing life on Earth, and to create a platform in which I can continue to teach both life skills and tangible, living, sustainable, off-the-land skills. So the more I wrap by simply having, let's say, that written on my desk, which I'm sometimes good at, sometimes not at, seeing that, and then checking what I'm doing to see if it's contributing or taking away from that. So at least knowing, being intentional about it. So if I'm doing something that's watching a Ren and Stimpy cartoon or watching a South Park. With the Ren and Stimpy cartoon, I may feel a thread that empowers that vision. Or watching a South Park cartoon, I may feel a thread, or I may not. Listening to the radio about the news that's going on. I have a practice right now, and this I'm pretty good at. I have a practice right now. If I'm listening to something on, and this has become a habit, that's why I'm able to remember it. If I'm listening to something on the radio, I'll have a little thought, and I'll think to myself, am I going to act on this? And if the answer is no, the second question is this contributing to my main goals? To my goal to be transitioning to more teaching, more art, more composition, more content creation? If the answer is no, I turn it off. And I practice just sitting in my car while I'm driving, either not listening to anything or turning on a compelling audiobook like Deep Work or Tim Ferris, or there's another one that I'm looking at right now, which I can't recommend yet. It's To Save Everything. Click here. Can't recommend it yet. We'll see. Maybe next video. I think that's enough for today. I'm trying to shorten these videos. I don't want to drone on too long. I hope that you start a deep inquiry into how you can eliminate things in your life that don't contribute to your deepest held values and vision for yourself. And obviously, if you're not clear on those, you got to get clear on those. And the easiest way is to write them down. They will change over time, but it is true statistically that people who write down their goals, their values, their visions, are 90% more likely to achieve them. So if you don't write it down, it's just swirling around your head, you're 90% less likely to get any of that done. So do it if that calls to you, and if you want to have a life that's more in line with your highest vision for yourself. One last note, which I stole from Tony Robbins, which I really like, and that is, people often think that all they need to do is change their ideal of themselves. Like, all I got to do is have a vision for myself to be a superhero and to save the world. I won't have superpowers, but I'm going to go out and be a political activist, and everything's going to change because that's how I see myself. And Tony Robbins says that's not the way it works. The way it works is you change your minimum standards, which are basically daily practices. So you change how you act on a daily basis, and then that will slowly transform you towards your ideal. If you hold just an ideal without transforming your minimum standards, nothing happens. So, thanks for watching. I hope this was valuable, and have a great day.